What's up, everybody? Welcome to Heresy Financial. My name is Joe Brown, and today we are talking about two different sets of laws that apply to sound money like gold and silver and fiat money like dollars that we use today. Now, recently, over the past 10 years or so, there has been a move within various states across the United States of America to push for legal tender laws that make gold and silver legal tender again in that state. So far, only 3 states have been successful with this, but the legislation has been presented in states all around the country, and other states as well are taking smaller steps by eliminating sales tax and by eliminating capital gains taxes on gold and silver inside the states as well. And so this brings up the question, a lot of people look at this and say, hey, if we can get this applied across the nation, if we can get legal tender laws established, basically a return to what the Constitution says about money, that would save our financial system and we could start using gold and silver again. But we have another law that's kind of opposed to this, and it's not a legal law in the sense of like a legal tender law where government writes a law and says, hey, this is how things are going to be. We have another law, it's more of a natural law. It's called Gresham's law, which basically says that good money is driven out, is pushed away, is pushed out of the system by bad money. So we're going to look at how these two forces oppose each other and which one is more likely to be the driver to reestablishing sound money and giving our financial system firm footing once again. Ready? Let's dive in. All right, so right now, like I said, there are 3 states that have currently passed legal tender laws saying gold and silver are legal tender in that state. That is Utah, Louisiana, and Texas. The legislation is continuously being presented to state governments all across the country, and some states are getting close. And so many are taking this as a sign that it's only a matter of time before most, if not all, states across the country pass some sort of legislation like this. Now, the thinking is, if in a state it is now legal, it is now allowed for you to use gold and silver as legal tender, as payments for goods, services, and especially as debt, this paves the way then for the free market to step in and start to accept payments and contracts in gold and silver instead of denominated in dollars. This is a return to what the U.S. Constitution says, which the U.S. Constitution specifically says that no state is allowed to make anything but gold and silver coin legal tender for payment of debt. Now, obviously, the Constitution is completely ignored here nationwide because rule of law is basically a joke, right? But the Founding Fathers were very intentional about the way they wrote this out because they had all lived through hyperinflation through fiat currencies. If you've ever heard the term not worth a continental, it's because all the Founding Fathers lived through hyperinflation of the continental that was printed, it was overprinted in order to help pay for the Revolutionary War. In fact, one of the things said about the hyperinflation in that period by Palladius Webster, actually, I have no idea how to pronounce his name, but Webster said paper money polluted the equity of our laws, turned them into engines of oppression, corrupted the justice of our public administration, destroyed the fortunes of thousands who had confidence in it, enervated the trade, husbandry, and manufactures of our country, and went far to destroy the morality of our people. Sounds familiar, doesn't it? Because when a government has unlimited capacity to spend as much as they want through the power of the printing press, tyranny and economic collapse are the inevitable result. And the clause in the Constitution that the Founding Fathers intentionally put in there was not in the original Articles of Confederation. That's important to note because they intentionally added that the United States government and no state could make a law that would make anything legal tender but gold and silver coins, specifically coins, not paper. And so the push by states and the legislation that's continuously being presented to states across our country to make gold and silver legal tender again are looked at as a good sign and looked at that would be bullish for gold and silver prices. But like I mentioned, we've got another force acting against it, which is Gresham's law that says that bad money drives out good. And here's what I mean by that. How much does a 1 ounce silver American Eagle cost today if you want to just go buy one? Well, you'll be able to find them for somewhere around $35 to $40 right now. And that's a huge markup over the spot price of silver, but that's about what you'll have to pay to get your hands on 1 ounce of silver in the form of an American Eagle. How much would it cost you to get your hands on 1 ounce of gold in the form of an American Eagle? It's going to cost you just under $2,000, somewhere between $1,900 and $2,000 right now. And again, that's more than the spot price of gold, but that's what you're going to have to pay to get your hands on that gold, 1 ounce of gold, in the form of an American Eagle. The funny thing is, what's stamped into the backs of these coins? What's stamped into the backs of these coins is what's called their face value. If you look at the back of a silver eagle, the face value is $1. If you look at the back of a gold eagle, the face value is $50. This means that if you try to use gold or silver to pay, let's say, your taxes, the government will only recognize the face value of these coins, not the market value of the metal itself. You'd be far better off just trading those coins in the open market for their actual value based on their metal contents, and then using the paper to pay your taxes. And legally, if you're trying to use these gold and silver coins to pay debts, they're only acceptable in terms of their face value, not their market value for the metal they possess. So you've got, let's say, a $2,000 credit card bill and you send in OneGold American Eagle in payment for that. You've only knocked $50 off of it, and then if you don't pay, they can say, no, you still owe us $1,950. You only paid us $50. Even though the gold that they got, they could sell on the open market for the whole amount of the debt. So why would anybody in their right mind ever use gold and silver as payments, as legal tender, when there's a paper option instead? When you are presented with two things of equal value, a $50 coin or a $50 bill, which one are you going to use for payments? You're going to use the worthless paper that legally has to be accepted, and you're going to hold on to the thing that you know is worth a lot more. And this is exactly Gresham's law, that bad money drives out good. Whenever there's debasement of coins all throughout history for thousands of years, anytime a government has said we need more money, and so we're just going to put less gold or silver in the coin and put more cheaper metals in instead, or we're going to make the coins smaller, we're going to clip the outside of the coins, any of those tricks, as soon as that new money that is less valuable than the money that came before it, but by law it is said to have the same stated value, the immediate reaction is that all of the original money that has more value dries up and leaves circulation, and nobody gives it up because they know it's a lot more valuable. When presented with the choice, you're going to spend the garbage money and you're going to keep the good stuff for yourself. So legal tender laws across the nation are probably going to do absolutely nothing in terms of a smooth transition to gold and silver being used as money again. Now, it's not worthless. There's probably some small benefits just from people becoming aware of gold and silver versus fiat and inflation, and people starting to buy gold and silver for themselves to give themselves a more steady financial situation, store their wealth in real savings. As more and more states eliminate taxes on gold and silver, this is beneficial as well. But more likely than not, individual states passing these laws is not going to provide any sort of significant momentum towards the goals of reestablishing sound money. In our current system, it's got to come from the top down, and the only way that the US government will ever give up control of being able to create as much money as they want out of thin air through the Federal Reserve buying their debt is when nobody wants to accept Federal Reserve notes anymore at all, just because they've already become worthless. Are we on our way to that? Absolutely. Is it happening anytime soon within the next couple of months? Absolutely not. Probably not even within the next couple of years. But those who ignore history are doomed to repeat it. And the very things that have always, every single time, caused hyperinflation and a collapse in currency across the world, across different cultures, across time for thousands of years, many central banks and governments around the world are engaging in right now as we speak. So return to sound money, whether that's gold or silver or even Bitcoin or something else, is a question of when, not a question of if. And if you'd like to start investing in gold and silver yourself, you just don't know where to start, I've got linked in the description below all the services that I use and recommend. As always, I really appreciate you guys. Thanks for watching. Have a good day.